This is going to be an interesting one. So, as of 20 hours ago from the headline, Trump admitted he did not win the election. Now, of course, I haven't read this, so but I would guarantee it's going to be a bunch of word salad, a lot of places to where you can sit there and come back to it and say, well, I didn't really say that, or I didn't really mean that, or la di la 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 of bullshit. All this is a setup so he can squirm. He tried to overthrow the election. He tried to attempt a coup on the people of the United States. And he thinks he's going to squirm his way out of it and not be held to an account. He is a coward of the highest and worst degree, as all bullies are. The House has been afraid to use its inherent contempt abilities, and I'm sorry, it is time to use them. The writ of habeas corpus must be invoked. The people must know the truth that a sitting president knowingly attempted to overthrow the government of the United States of America, the world's oldest democratic republic. From here on through, no longer send it into, well, do both. Send it both to the Justice Department, but while they wait for the Justice Department to get their thumb out their asses, you must use your powers of the people as placed down within the Constitution of inherent contempt and hold not just those people who lied to, but the persons who organized it and led it, the insurrection and attempted coup, to account. They have 7 days. Mark Meadows, he's been held in contempt. Nice. I mean, so is Steve Bannon. Capitol Police need to go down and arrest them within 7 days. And wait. If they want to sit in the jail beneath, fine. If it gets crowded, not my problem. Not our problem. And that includes Mike Pence, Mark Meadows, Don Jr. and his girlfriend, Enrique Otario. You will present yourself to Congress, or you will sit in the jail underneath it until the Justice Department gets its head out of its ass, which apparently at the speed it's going may be 3 or 4 months at best. You spat in the face of all of those who've died for this country. And you're spitting in the face of all those who've died for this country. Not just the ones who plotted it and invoked it, but also Congress for not voting and holding you to account. But if the January 6th committee does not hold you to account and place you in jail as a commoner, as you are, then they are also spitting in the face of those who fought for freedom. It's time to grow a pair, Congress. This piece of crap thinks he's going to get away with it. He's just basically like a little kid who go, okay, you caught me. All right, I have a cookie. All right, no biggies. Right? Okay, yeah, okay. I'll sit here, show my shoulders, and you're right. All right, are they done? Oh, fuck you. That's Trump right there. That's what that is. That's that whole, oh, I didn't win. You're right. Oopsie. No, no oopsies. People of New York, if you allow the if that your attorney general to drop the charges against the Trump organization, he needs to be removed because he's been bought out and he is corrupt. And he was probably bought out for pennies on the dollar. If he didn't get less than $1 billion or so, or at least 500 million, then he sold you out for pennies. Because if Trump was to have pulled off that coup, what we need to know more than anything is there was this statement. Everyone said, "Well, we won't do that. Well, wait until the next uh, the next term." We need to know what those things were that they kept saying were the next term. Because all the Republicans are saying, "Oh, we got everything you wanted." Okay. Oh, I thought Trump. No, no, he didn't give two shits about America, and that's going to be stated in the more horrifying things he was going to do in the next term. And also, persons who need to be interviewed. It seems Mr. Matt Gaetz is trying to make a mess of things. Were you part of any congressperson or senator who was contacted or actively or even passively participated? They need to be interviewed. Matt Gaetz, you're not going to sit there and yell at the Secretary of State because he's, quote, a black man. I mean, not Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, because you're trying to hide the fact that you're what maybe a month or two away from going to jail for sex trafficking, or Tom Cotton, or any of you folks who thought that overturning the government was a good idea. As the Iowans said, the one Iowans told Senator Grassley, doesn't seem like you're for the party. You're not for the people anymore. You're more for the party. It means you forgot your place. Or in your case, you didn't know your place. You're about to find out. You thought you can BS everybody. Make a lot of noise so it diminishes the value of what you're really doing. So let's ignore your noise and find out what you really were doing. Vladimir Putin, you have been in power for far too long, but that's not us. Not for us to say should or shouldn't be. Personally, that's our own thinking. You've bullshitted your people. You've stolen everything from them, starting in the 90s when you took the commanding heights and passed it out to your cronies. Granted, you weren't the only one, but you were the main one as far as that's what you were doing in St. Petersburg. That's how you got to power. So originally, the gas companies, the steel companies, and all those large companies were being sold off to the people. But then your boys came through and kind of gave them and was it a deal that they couldn't resist, or if they did, yeah, well, we know why. You keep, we'll find a way to get to your people to let them know that you're an atrocious monster. And they will say, "Oh, it's just being Russian, the thieving, the stealing." Yeah, we're seeing who you really are. The army is the people. The behavior of the army is the people, is its leader, and you're showing your behavior. Your army has shown its behavior. Now, China might be saying, oh, well, the Canadians set that up. Well, actually, that's interesting because that tells us what the Chinese would do in order to bullshit, what they would do to their own people. If they're accusing you, then that's probably what they would do. At least if you're an authoritarian. And you are. And so is Xi. See, if you boys had just went in, did their thing, and not decided to just massacre civilians in the street and leave their bodies out there in the cold. Good thing it was in the summer. Boy, that would smell even worse. And then, yeah, the Ukrainians are not giving up shot. And you're not going to get. You're you're going to give up the Donbass region, and you're going to give up Crimea. You're most definitely giving up the Donbass in the east. Because what you're really after is their gas and their coal and their steel and their mining industries. And then you want to stay, and then as well as their ways to ship it through the Black Sea. So it's nothing about Ukraine. It's just simply about your greed. The Russian people will eventually be overthrowing you. We're not going to do a thing. We're not going to lift a finger. We're not going to. We're going to sit back. We're going to bleed your army dry. The Ukrainians are going to be free. And when the bodies, or the lack of bodies, since you aren't picking up your dead, what kind of fucking warrior are you? Now I know you're probably saying, well, the Russian people have been pacified for so many generations and so many years, they don't know how to lift their heads up. You've had your foot on their neck for so long. But to tell you what, your propaganda machine will crack, and they'll know. And they will push your foot off their neck, and they'll take that foot and beat you with it. That's just how history goes. Now, the Russian oligarchs, who you've given and control all of the commanding heights, they can do something that can really kick you in the teeth and actually give them even more power. 'Cause right now, they're just stuck kissing your ass. They can sell off 80% of their companies, return it to the people who work there. Put it this way, you have a week, 10 rubles. Everyone gets a shot. Only they can buy it. Next week, 30%, 30% to the people who were supposed to have owned the company in the first place. Then the other 60% on the to the of that 80% placed on the Russian stock market, or actually you then 20% actually same way, but everyone in Russia who doesn't work for those companies. So 30% of the persons, they got a week set price. 10 rubles. Buy as much as they can of that 30%. Next week, 30%. Regular Russians, 20 rubles. Buy as much as they can. Price doesn't go up on either of these 2 weeks. Then the final week, the last 30%, general on the stock market, price floats. Here's the thing, oligarchs are going to be freaking out, going, well, I wouldn't do that. And I go, yeah, you would, because you'll make more money. And you'll end up getting it back anyways, because you'll know, because you're sophisticated. And you'll end up making more money. But the thing is, you will be free of Putin. And if you do that before the pheasants figure out and get tired of bodies coming home, because you're not going to be able to keep saying, oh, it's the Nazis, and they know it wasn't Nazis. You're letting them loot and steal so that the way they at least have some kind of positive thing. But you're going to bleed out your army. And once it gets down to the point where they have to keep conscripting people, people saying, well, okay, the Russians can just keep sending men and men and men. How long? The lie's not going to be able to keep up. Canada. There is a company that's been able to turn we need to ramp up our hydrogen production and LNG as best as possible to offset the energy needs of Europe. See, those pipelines were all that gas and all that was designed to weaken and break Europe. And it's so far they're holding out. But as the prices start to hit the average person, things make it difficult. It'll be more difficult. but it gives an opportunity. So I suggest you invest to scale up whatever systems are in place and do it absolutely quickly. Because one thing, you'll be able to corner the market very quickly. Prices will go up on hydrogen and LNG, preferably LNG. But hey, if we can get it, if you can pull that hydrogen out of the tar sands, that's a boon. It's a lot of money. And then we need to figure out how to turn that coal. What does it take to turn the coal into a hydrogen? Coal's the same thing, long chain hydrocarbon. We need to find that out fast. You've had a year. Whatever that system or process they're using, I guarantee it can be used in coal. And when we can do that, we can then switch Indonesia and Australia. Because it seems like China made 8 coal-fired power plants. Well, we don't sell coal anymore there, China. We only sell hydrogen. Apparently, it seems like you wanted to keep this global warming going, so that way it floods our cities and causes chaos, and then you just kind of step on in. We ain't gonna be having that. And even though you bought out Murdoch, as him and Langdon Murdoch have slowly undercut the culture and their stuff is so hilarious about this whole culture war that they're loving to fan the flames on when they're the ones who are completely destroying the culture, destroying the West, destroying Africa, so they can line their pockets and suck their own cock. Pardon the language, because they get it off on it. Whatever you put in that, whatever that spy was, you put some stupid in their heads. That's for damn sure. Just like you did it with McConnell. Oh, we gonna take care of him. But first, we got to deal with one stupid former president. I wouldn't say former, more of an ex, because he will not be sitting in the White House. He will never, ever hold office in the United States again. Now, moving on to Saudi Arabia. MBSers seem like you're getting off on all this. You're making a boat ton of money. You said something about, oh, you're going to start paying in yawns or whatever the hell. Even though the currency is not ready, but all right. You start paying in yuans. You start paying for having only accepting oil in Chinese yuan. You start doing some of the crap or going off on little things that China doesn't want, you'll end up like the Uyghurs and it won't be our problem. And if you don't think they will, smoke another one. So you can keep playing fuck games, kid. Or you can increase production and kick Russia out of OPEC Plus. Because quite honestly, the American people, if it wasn't for your oil, you're nothing but bunch of dudes walking around in manjamas and screwing goats. We can care less about you. If World War III was to happen, we'll flatten Riyadh and we'll just take your oil. See, what you don't realize, the hallmark of strength is not whipping out your pecker and showing it. Hallmark of strength is restraint. You keep poking the eagle. Qatar and the other Arab Gulf states, you have a lot of LNG. I don't know what your contracts are right now, your open contracts. But you know how the Saudis and UAE and all UAE, Qatar, you know how the Saudis play the little game with Iran. Well, you have a lot of LNG. We're smart to switch over. Now's your time. Prices are about to go up. You need to supply Europe. And it also does a side section of kicking the hell out of the Saudis. Israel. You now have all that oil and gas off the coast. Even if it's a little bit, I don't know what the gross tonnage was. I don't look. Now's the time. Libyan for Libya, same thing. The democracies of the world need to get together and put a stop to this. These authoritarians always create inefficiencies, crap products, and they destroy everything because they're greedy, incompetent little shits. To the people of India, Gandhi broke the idea of the caste system, of the birth caste system. The untouchables became touchable. The Raj was no more. However, your public service is so corrupt, nothing gets done, and generations of stupidity keep going. Modi wants to be a Raj. He views himself as the next Raj. See, all authoritarians always try to play the whole religious card. That's why he's doing the Hindu nationalism. Modi fashions himself to be the Raj, and it is not the British that will subjugate you. It is you that will subjugate you. Modi's trying to take money from Russia and try to play it, and then say, oh, nah, his main worry should be China. Let's get real. You got a bunch of dumb, backwards idiots. That's what they think. Too many of them. Just starve them out. Or it's really nice, cheap labor as they make themselves richer. I know all countries have to play the game. That's just how it is, the game of power. The people who are making you poor are your own people and no one else. You need to quit buying Russian oil or find other ways. And before you break out, who you tell us what to do? Man, I'm not telling you what to do. Anything. You do you. But know the consequence. But people of India know any consequences that come about are because Modi believes himself to be the next Raj. Not a prime minister or president. He doesn't believe your will matters. That's why I always have to keep. Anytime you see somebody who has to keep anger and keep pointing and making a lot of noise, yeah, they're hiding. He needs to clean up the corruption, but that's so ingrained into your society. That's why you're poor. And then you can still point downwards and say, well, it's just the untouchables. We're just spitting on them. When in fact, he's actually also spitting on the higher castes as well, to include the priest caste, even though they'll get a few little scraps. That's how that works. That's how they are. Finally, we're getting to the ALU. Congratulations, Amazon Labor Union. My boy Don Rose is going to give you a call. He's going to discuss certain financial products for your. How do you help your constituents deal with the shocks financially? And then what do they need to make in order to have enough capital to build their lives? He's going to give you different scenarios, different ways, different things, and you're going to present them to your constituents, the labor union. Because it's not just about working hours and fair pay. But it's about making sure that they're taken care of, that they could, even if they work for Amazon for 30 years, which Amazon's going to try to turn that into all of the warehouses into full automation. So you know. So you, as laborers and workers, need to become financially literate to be able to live your American dream. You know, what's what systems can the labor union use to buy Amazon stock, to buy, to offset job losses when they come, to help people that while they're there get educated, maintain training, not just for stay with Amazon, but if they want to move to another industry while still being part of the Amazon labor union. Organized labor, the greed of big business is going to try to squeeze organized labor and not let you get a cut. Your goal is to make sure that your people get their cut. They might not, might not get rich. That's fine. That's not the whole goal. But it's this whole work 5 years, they create a freaking mess, kill the jobs, then you're put back by another 7 years, and you try to work 5 years. It's good for a while, then they tank the economy again, and then you're trying to get back up. That's all done to you on purpose. So, but boy, Don's going to have that conversation, and you're going to build out systems that protect your workers from their BS. And finally, Ron LeGrand. I was expecting to see if you were going to send an email, but apparently I haven't seen it. See, Ron, you might have said, well, owed you from that mentoring, but as I stated, I needed something and nobody did. And I asked a very specific question. Okay. This is about power, Ron, and you're going to think I'm going to have to come to you and then you can show power, Ron. And you say, well, I don't need you. I already got the prince. Who do you think the prince is going to come to? You don't got shit, Ron. Your boy admitted to overthrowing the country. I know you've made money off of this situation. I know sit there who is it Jerry Falwell Jr. wants to work with us. You see, Ron, the world I grew up in, it is all, even though it's his middle class, even though we're both Florida boys, being upper class has nothing to do with money. It's how you think. There are a lot of countries, a lot of places that are looking and expecting me and hoping that I will help them. And you can be a part of that. Or you can sit there and be stubborn. Because, as a country boy, it's all about the barter. And I know darn well I'm bringing far more to you, both in brand and in capital. But I am asking is that, are you going to be stuck being just a redneck? I know you're not a bigot. Well, maybe, well, you've learned not to be if you were. Maybe there's still a little bit of spark, that old Florida in there. You have a chance to do something that very few people in the world ever get a chance to do. History very rarely calls to an individual. And quite honest with you, It's usually not. It's definitely different than what's expected. Where do you want to stand in history, Ron? Where are you and the rest of the rednecks going to stand in history? You gonna let the dude in the big house keep keeping you poor just so you can sit there, so they can sit there and talk down about to quote the brownies out in the field? South to rise again. Look at my pecker. Woo! Yeah, South was poor and it had nothing to do. The, the worker class pre in antebellum South were as poor, almost as dirt poor as the slaves. There was nothing good about the South except for the food and the politeness. They used their anger and poverty to keep everyone else in poor. Kept blaming their stupidities on the darkies, when in reality it was on them. Them being the those families that were squeezing everything out of the area, then keeping everyone pissed off. This is the same shit, different bile. Integrity is who you are when no one's looking. I've always viewed you. I've always the older people, the older generations who can overcome the racism thinking. I always have a lot more respect for than the little dipshits like Matt Gates, because that takes a lot more courage. It's the only reason I'm giving you a second chance. History's calling you, Ron. If you can't see what's at stake and what's being brought to the table, because you also know 99, even though my monitors, my computer's monitored, 99.99% of the people who will watch it will have no idea what to do. But it'll increase your brand. But it also does something else that I need. So you can be angry, try to play power games, or we can work together. We can be a man. You can be a man of history, of positive history. History's calling you, Ron. Are you going to pick up the phone? What will speak your history? What will speak your legacy to your grandchildren? Courage or cowardice? Which will speak? Which will speak your legacy? Hoorah, Marine!